one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Different things here. Please call the roll. Here.
I'm also here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for September 10th, 2024. Do I have a motion for acceptance?
Move for approval.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Move on to new business 4A grant pursuit update. Mark, is he here?
No, Mark.
Okay.
So I'm gonna introduce Denise Instead. She's our grants consultant, came to our meeting for, so she's reviewing and providing the grant opportunities to the district, kind of highlighting the recommendation for which grants the district should apply for. She also aids in the submission of grant applications.
Hey, you know what? I missed public comment. I apologize. Let's take a little break. Is there any public comment? I noticed Pat's online. Is anybody else online? We don't have any public present, but would anybody like to make a public comment on an item that's not agendized? Is there anybody's hands up? I can't see. Okay, seeing none, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Okay, so we utilized NSTA here recently to apply for your reclamation grant application for a smart water for the timber fields tank. And so the district put a lot of effort in, worked with Denise and her team getting the application in with a tight deadline. So I kind of go over so in your packet there, there's a 6-year plan that we have. The grants that we've completed or are working on. So the first one here on the list is the Timber Trail pump station. That's the one that we just recently applied for. And I think it's in February that we'll be getting the notice back from the Bureau on that. The Arnold wastewater treatment plant. It says application submitted, but it's actually the pre-application, or this is for this Clean Water State Revolving Fund. That application was submitted, but they don't have any funding. So we're also working on the USDA grant. So we submitted the initial application to the local branch here in Modesto, and they're reviewing that, and then they'll give us the green light to submit it to the national. They have a continuing resolution. There's funding available through December 20th. And that right now is a loan only, but there's a grant component that comes after that. The next one is the West Point consolidation. That project's ongoing. That's to consolidate our two wastewater treatment plants. And I think we're working on an extension for that project because there's some delays on electrical equipment. The West Point water supply drought project, we're going to talk about that in the agenda item a little bit later. Copper Cove tertiary treatment plant. This was done. Or no, this is not done. This is the Army Corps of Engineers project. It has a dam raise in the tertiary staff unit. Hunter's raw water. We got some good news this week. It sounds like the phase 2 construction funding came through from FEMA to Cal OES. Now we're just waiting on the Cal OES. We expect to get an award this week for the construction funding.
2.7.
Yep.
Wow.
And then West Point backup filter. This project's pretty well done. They're just demoing the existing building that burned down. Jayland water treatment plant pre-treatment. This is completed a few years back. Evis Pass Redwood tank is completed. We got the additional $750,000 that we needed, so that's fully funded under the grant. And Evis Pass Reach 3A has been done for a while also. And so I'll turn it over to Denise now. She was kind of just got a PowerPoint presentation, kind of what we've been working on the grants.
I have a question. You mentioned something about there's been a delay on the West Point consolidation because of availability of some electrical
Yeah, the
equipment.
project's pretty well done. They paved this week. And they got the ponds there. There's just some electrical components, and we'll do a little more on the project updates, but I think for Willseyville Pump Station, there's some electrical components that with the shortage from Square D and that type of stuff, they can't get the actual panel that the equipment goes inside of.
So there's nothing that's going to jeopardize the receipt of the funds because of those delays?
Yeah, we requested an extension and they responded back with some additional information and we provided it. So I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Thank you.
Go from here to need.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Denise Landstead of Landstead Consulting, and I've just a quick PowerPoint presentation. I know you have a copy of it in your packet, so we'll go over it pretty quickly to get you up to date. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Just to recap on our reporting, we started our initial reporting in May of this year, 2024. And then we were doing bi-monthly reports. So we've had a report in July and another one in September. And our next report is in November. And what's in these reports is our research for funding opportunities for priority projects. So right now we're tracking about 18 priority projects. Some of them are on the list that was just gone over, and we're looking for additional funding for some of them as well. But some of them are not on that list as well. So we've got about 18 projects we're tracking. We look for grant, local, state, and federal low interest loans and grant opportunities. So we're tracking right now about 65 different funding opportunities. And some of those are matched with projects and some aren't. We've got about 14 of those opportunities that are matched within those 18 projects, ranging from about 2 to 12 matches per project. Some of them, we've got grant opportunities listed that don't have a project match, but the district might consider those for other things that you're looking at that we're not exactly tracking, but they might be of consideration anyway. So we have them on there to take a look at. So when we track them, they are by some funding opportunities with due dates, some have continuous or rolling due dates, and then some are, we're calling it inactive, and we're monitoring those for future funding opportunities because a lot of them are cyclical and they come back around year after year. So we watch those. And when we do track them, we do a preliminary analysis of priority, a high, medium, or low. And that's to determine if they're competitive or not. If they're on the low side, it might not be worth the time to apply. But if they're on the high side and we feel they're competitive, we ask the district, do you want us to do a go, no-go assessment? Meaning, do you want to make a determination if it's really worth applying for? So if they decide to do a go, no-go assessment, let's go to the next slide. And this tells you a little bit about what we do in that go, no-go assessment. So each one is tailored specific to the funding opportunity. We've got a pre-application questionnaire. And this has a lot of different things that we look at, like your district objectives and priorities, project eligibility, competitiveness, timing, availability of funding, and other considerations. So with that in mind, each go, no-go assessment is typically about 6 to 8 pages long. I type it up, do an analysis of stuff. Sometimes the district has to weigh in because we might have a limited project description. And so the district weighs in, we talk about the project and the funding opportunity, but we always look at it compared to the funding opportunity. So far we've done 4 of these since June. And in June, we did the EPA Clean Heavy Duty Vehicles grant, and that was a go, but we were indicated to that the operations staff would apply for that. So we were not part of that application, but it was going to be more of an operational staff. And that was to install high-speed charging stations. And then in June 25th, we did a go, no go for the DWR dam safety and climate resilience. That we looked at a couple of project opportunities that we were tracking, but they were basically ineligible because they were more dam raises. And under that funding opportunity, dam raises were not eligible. And then in August, we did a assessment for the USBR Water and Energy Efficiency Grant. And we looked at your water system monitoring projects and in-pipe hydroelectric projects. And most of them, we kind of determined they weren't fully developed yet, not very competitive, and possibly maybe not even eligible. So we passed on that because the due date was coming up quickly. But then on September 3rd, I did a funding alert, and the funding alert, instead of an actual full go assessment, came about because we did this in an email to staff as a quick turnaround because we knew the due date was coming up very quickly. Put a lot of detail in the email about the funding opportunity and determine if it should be a go or no go. In this case, it was the USBR Water Smart Drought Response Program. And we looked at the Timber Trails Tank and Pump Station project, and that's on your list as applied. So that was determined to do a go, and we assisted with that, and we submitted an application by October 4th. Now on the next slide, it tells you a little bit about that application. The project definition is there to demolish and remove the existing redwood tank, and it was the last of your redwood tanks to replace, and construct a new upsized tank, certainly being more fire resistant, and construct a new pump station. So we identified the benefits of that, and those are listed on your sheet there. And we incorporated those benefits throughout the funding application, and hopefully we're banking on it to be quite competitive. The total project cost we determined at about 3.8 million with a 50% cost share. So the funding request was 1.9 million, a little over 1.9 million. So the key dates on this are we've got the application submitted by October 4th. It was actually due a few days later, but we always like to get it in early. So we had a pretty quick turnaround. Staff and myself and my staff worked on this diligently for a few weeks and got it turned in. Notification is around February of next year, and then between February and September, they're going to work on the award agreement. So the agreement is anticipated to be executed in September. And then project construction can kick off shortly after that, but there is some pre-award costs that are eligible. So once notification is determined in and around February, there's some work that can be started. And then project completion would be around March of 2028. Okay, next slide. So basically in closing, this quick report here, our next bi-monthly report, like what I said, is in November of 2024. If there's well, that would have everything in there in the report. But if there's funding opportunities that come up in between them, we would do a funding alert. And that, again, that's time sensitive opportunities through an email. We would prepare go, no go assessments as desired, continue work to make projects ready to proceed, because sometimes that's an inhibitor to hit the deadlines for grant opportunities. So we want to help with that. And then, of course, prepare and submit application as requested for high probability funding. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer those.
Dr. Thomas, do you have any questions?
I just want to, I think the answer to this is evident here, but we on these, the Timber Trails tank application, we will not likely hear from the funding agency until February. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct. They'll have a lot of applications to go through and review and do their scoring and evaluation. So it takes a little while.
Okay. Do they ever, after your application is submitted, do they ever contact you with clarification on any item?
For USBR, they typically do not. It's kind of a
Okay.
one shot you have in the application. Some funding agencies do, but USBR is not one of those.
What's the, what's the, balance of their pool of, money? Is this a well-funded program?
For this funding opportunity,
It,
It
yeah,
is. Let's see here. They had about. I don't have, oh, no, I don't have the total amount they have, but I will tell you that they, I'm looking at my report here, they will fund between $3 and $10 million per project, depending on the funding group. Some as low as 750,000, but up to 10 million. And shoot, I usually let you know how many they'd anticipate to fund,
It's
but I
like 3 or
don't.
400 million.
what?
I believe it's like 300 or 400 million.
Okay.
In the Western United States.
Nationwide?
No, Western United States, because your Bureau of Reclamation is only in the 5 Western states.
5 lessons. Yeah, I always find it interesting to know how much, if a project, if a grant application is to a funding source that's overprescribed or not. So in the future, I think it's a good idea to let us know how much is in the pool and how many applications they think they might get. And just so we have, a little
That-
clarity of, I'm sure you do all that ahead of time. It should be
We
good for
do,
the directors to know.
we do that, and that's in our bi-monthly report as well. I just don't have it in front of me, I apologize.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Anything from the public? No. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thanks for your help.
Okay, we'll move on to 4B. Is there 4B or what? So we'll move on to 4C. West Point Drought Water Supply CIP. Kevin.
Okay. So today I'm talking about a kind of recent project that we got here was the West Point Water Supply Drought Phase 1. It's the dam raids and reservoir enlargement for the West Point Regulating Reservoir, also known as the Bummerville Reservoir. But for continuity between our master plans, everything, we'll call it the Regulating Reservoir for now. So the project increases the water storage capacity of the reservoir from 50 acre feet to 150 acre feet to kind of provide year-round water supply from the Bear Creek diversion. So anything below above average water year, there's not enough water come out of the Bear Creek to supply the West Point water system. So currently the district purchases water from CPUD off the Middle Fork of the McCalling River through the Middle Fork Pump Station and the Acorn Pump Station. So this project would eliminate the need for that system, and we could store all the water off of Bear Creek. So we got a FEMA funded project that covers 90% of the project cost. And currently we're authorized for about $480,000 for the Phase 1, which includes the 60% design, the permits, and the environmental. So there's obviously not enough money to complete all those tasks. So we'll have to request additional funding to be allocated to the Phase 1 portion of this project. So we advertised this RFPs in the newspaper, on public purchase, and reached out to multiple design and environmental firms that we know routinely do this type of work. We also solicited the help of a consultant cost estimator to kind of review the overall cost of the project. So a high level cost opinion, probable cost opinion was he came up with $7.8 million for the design and construction of this project. So at that cost, the project would not be considered cost effective by FEMA with the current BCA that was done for this project. So on the FEMA projects, you submit a BCA, and that's based on the amount of connections you have and the amount of losses that you would have in a disaster if they lost their potable water service. So there's some ways to adjust the BCA through, there's a FEMA recently changed the discount rate, and also the damage frequency assessment. You can kind of play with the analysis and figure out maybe there's some other impacts besides just water losses to the community. So we'd have to redo the BCA to make this project considered cost effective. And also this probable cost estimate that the consultant did assumes that all the excavated material out of the reservoir can be used for the embankment to basically push the dirt up and build an embankment around the reservoir while you're deepening the reservoir. That may not be the case. It may not be suitable, but that's something that will have to be done during the analysis. But if the case that you got to haul dirt off site and bring dirt back on, it could get a lot more expensive. Additionally, the contingency numbers used in the estimate were kind of considered conservative for a preliminary estimate. So we didn't go down every rabbit hole of what could happen. So this is kind of a probable cost. There's some risk in the numbers. It could substantially increase, especially if you have to bring material on site, more material on site. And also the schedule is pretty aggressive. I mean, they have us doing almost all the environmental reviews and completing the permit applications all within the next 5 months, which is pretty aggressive for this type of project. And then we got to be fully complete by November with the design and environmental. So if this project's not completed, we still have to rely on the Middle Fork pump station and the Acorn pump station that's on the reservoir, on the reservation. These both have operational issues with them that are known. And we've also applied for grant applications for those 2 pump stations in the past, and they were both denied because they had unfavorable reviews. The district's looking for recommendations from the engineering committee to bring the engineering environmental proposals to the full board for approval, and to add the project to the CIP for the estimated cost of $7.8 million. Staff expects that this project could go into construction in the spring of 2027, depending on how long the NEPA review takes. So we talked with finance, and there's funds available for the 10% match, but the overmatch that exceeds the amount that we have in the overall grant, there's not currently any source of funding for that. So we'd have to kind of look at what other projects we have, or there's other options for funding, but that's something that we'd have to look at. And the permit fees for the dam, DSOD, and all the environmental fees, they're probably be around $300,000, and those have to be paid the phase 1 portion of the project. So that cuts into your $479,000 right off the bat. So there's some upsides to this project. The disaster declaration from FEMA is very well funded with Cal OES. There's only a few projects in the disaster, and there's $22 million of money that's available in that fund to use on cost overruns on projects. But just a matter of our project qualifying for that funding in the cost overruns. So I kind of want to bring this project, really great project, and it's very critical. It's one that we considered for the CIP, but just the other projects that we have are critical too. And it's tough to always, put all the projects you need on the CIP. And this one, it's definitely important for long-term sustainability.
Who all do we serve out of that reservoir?
600 people in West Point, 600 connections.
$7 million?
Yeah, right now the grant amount, I think that it was is like 4.7, so that'd be like $3 million over. And that's just the preliminary estimates that we have, so.
The BCA covered the 4.7 though.
The BCA is like at 7 million, so you can probably get another million out of it easy, but once you get over that 1.3 number, they get kind of hesitant on during the project. Phase 2, that's at least our experience on the previous ones. The drop dead is 1.0, so
So what's the max amount you think they would fund?
well, I think if you're in phase 1, you go up to you could probably ask for $1 million more, I think, without any alarms. And then once you get down to like the BC at 1.3, which would be any more than that, they might not let you go into phase 2 and go to
So-
construction.
Sorry, you're saying 1.4 million for,
I'm saying, yeah, they're at 4.7 million now. If we could probably easily ask for $1 million more. So that would be at 5.7.
for the
And then you still got another couple $1 million that you gotta make up on with our own funds. Based on the estimate that we recently got.
Okay, so they would potentially fund up to 5.7.
I think that we could ask for that. In discussions we had, that's kind of we had a conference call with Cal OES this last week, and that's kind of the message we got.
And we're not sure yet what we would have to ask for to increase phase 1, 2, but probably $1 million.
Yeah, so right now we figure on reusing the dirt that's on site. And that
But
dirt,
this phase, I'm just talking about phase 1.
oh yeah, the phase 1 we would need $300,000 for the permit fees, and I don't have a good idea for the cost of the design, but I assume that design environmental for this rigorous environmental, you're looking at least $800,000, probably
Yeah.
$1 million.
So maybe more than.
Yeah, we might have to ask for $1 million in phase 1.
The $300,000 for the permit fees, what permits are those?
So DSOD, they have a tiered rate, so it's like it's the overall project cost, which includes all the design and construction of the project. So that starts at 3.5% for the first $1 million, I think, and it's like 3% for the next 4 million, and then it goes down 2.5. I think I calculated based on standpoint,
It's got nothing to do with the workload.
it's gonna be $194,000 was my estimate based on their table. And then we got,
But what are they, I mean, what are they permitting? I mean, they're not.
they're
plan
permitting the
checking.
dam.
I know, but they're not plan checking anything. right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they plan to check everything.
they are.
But it's not based on, it's based on the value of the project,
Yes,
estimated value, not the.
the cost of the alterations, yes.
Interesting, huh?
But they do review the design.
Yeah, but. Just frustrating. It's, it's $300,000 in a disadvantaged community,
Yeah, it is. And then the fees go up after
And
that.
then I was gonna say, then we pay annual dam safety.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be $200,000, and then you have all the other permits that, are $20,000-$30,000 a piece that they get you probably close to the 300,000.
And Kevin, remind me, sorry to put you on the spot here, but does the district have to commit to accept and implement phase 2 if we accept phase 1?
They say they can de-obligate the phase 1 fees. I don't know if that means they can take money back you've already spent, or if they can just de-obligate any money that's not spent, but
But if
they
we
can
get-
de-obligate the class, if you decide to not go into phase 2 and they've approved it, they can take the money back from you.
So
Essentially
then we would have
de-obligate
to
it.
pay them back for,
I'm not sure if that's ever happened, but I know that that's what the wording says, they can de-obligate the money.
that's money already spent though. I mean, it'd be good to clarify that, just so that, I mean, it is, you're right. It's a great project. It's, kudos to our team for securing this grant. It would be great if we can find a way to make it work, but if we're on the hook for $3 million that was not included in the CIP, that's a big ask. I don't know where
Yeah.
we're gonna find that. So it's a tough one to make a call at this point. It'd be great to at least get through phase one and have have a permitted plan on the shelf so that if funding does become available, or if we can increase the grant amount, or if we can match it with local or state funding, find some other source of funding to help close the gap. But if we're committed to proceed with phase two, by accepting phase one, then we just need to be cautious about that too.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I read it, but I could clarify that with them.
How long
it
would it
wouldn't
take you to
surprise me.
clarify that?
Well, we got a while. We got the RFPs going out and stuff, and we don't have to, they're December 27th, we get those back. And then before we really spend any real money, we can talk to them. So
Well, you want to refer it back to the board. I mean, so we get some of those answers before it goes back to the board. We have enough
Yeah.
time for that.
Yeah, no problem. I think if the cost estimate goes way over the amount that we have in the grant, I don't know how they could tell you that you're on the hook for it, but we'll confirm it with them.
That's a tough one.
You have anything, Russ?
Well, I just wanted to compare this to the dam raise on Pond 6 in Copperopolis. That was about it's grown from 6 million to 10 million or something.
Yeah, this one, I think the numbers that he has in there is like, we're exiting 60,000 yards of dirt and putting 40,000 or putting 60 back, and we're excavating 40. And then some of that stuff was like, we figured like 9,000 yards had to be hauled off because it's got organics and stuff in it. And then we're gonna import 30,000 yards of dirt. So the other thing is we gotta find a borrow site in the next 5 months and have it approved environmentally too. So and we figured that we could find a borrow site within like a 45-minute round trip or 45 minutes each direction in that $7.8 million. So it needs to be in that kind of geographical area.
What
Timeline is-
kind of site?
What's that?
I mean, what are we looking for? What kind of site? I mean, there's plenty.
We're looking for some material that's like, it's not gonna,
No, I mean, you're saying we have to take material off the site.
oh yeah,
Find-
we'll have to,
find another
we
site.
can get rid of the material at our wastewater treatment plant. We got a pond that we just drained and we can dump it in there. But as far as the import material, it's gotta be suitable for dams, so it's gotta be something that's not gonna be pervious material type stuff, and not rocky as much.
That timeline is not realistic though.
Yes, it's not realistic at all. I mean, it's right in our grant documents. It tells you in the first 6 months, and we already lost a month up front because they didn't give it to us on time.
Was there, at one point, there was discussion about hogging out the reservoir instead of increasing the size of the dam? Is it worth reconsidering that and if that's cheaper?
Yeah, so this is a combination of hogging out and building up. So we kind of incorporate both of that. So there's an existing spillway that comes, not spillway, but a concrete channel that comes around in front of the dam. So the idea is that we build a box culvert, put that drainage channel in a big box culvert, and then we build the dam over the top of that and raise it up 12 feet. And so we got this big massive fill on top of this box culvert. And then also the embankment has to be extended like halfway around the reservoir because that ground is a lot lower. So there's a lot of embankment that goes where there's no existing embankment that goes around the reservoir. And then it's all trees and all those trees have to be removed. Tree surveys have to be done. They're just the environmental, it's an environmental, and it's close to the tribal lands and stuff, so there's a lot of stuff that goes on in that area.
So what's your ask for us today?
I just want to bring this project to you guys so we can bring it to the board meeting after, because we don't have another engineering committee between now and the board meeting. So we put the proposals out, we reached out to some consultants, and we're gonna do job walks with them and get some proposals back if they can even give us a proposal in the timeline we asked for. And then we'll bring it to the board for approval of the engineering environmental contract
Just to add it to the CIP.
and to add to CIP also.
You mentioned something about if we don't do this, that you'd have to improve other
Yeah.
expensive options.
Yeah, they're probably equally expensive, replacing the pump stations and The middle fork's a real challenge. That's kind of an environmental problem too there. And in pumping the water is not nearly as efficient as this gravity system that we have coming from Bear Creek. So this is by far the better long-term solution for us, and we don't have to pay for the water. And that project's the Acorn pump station's on the Indian reservation, and the Middle Fork pump station down. It's got it's poor access, and it's going to be expensive to work within the river. So that's going to be kind of like you either do this project and you get rid of that whole system and the aging pipeline that feeds the reservoir from the Middle Fork. And you have our own secure water supply, then we don't have to negotiate with CPUD on a regular basis to supply us with the water.
How much would it cost to move those 600 customers? Just,
Well, we did that with we had that question, I know, when we did the consolidation project before, customers too, but the disadvantaged community, if we can secure that, get that $22 million they got, and we can get this BCA going, and we only pay 10% of the project cost, that's the ultimate goal. But how realistic is that? I don't know at this point. Because it just kind of drop. We're already overburdened in the engineering department, extremely overburdened, short that. And this project just kind of got dumped on us on top of everything else. I mean, it's a great opportunity, but we don't really have the bandwidth for it.
okay, you have a dozer?
No, I don't. Okay, well, I mean, there's a couple things that I think you need to clarify before you bring it to the board. When's the latest opportunity to bring it to the board? I mean,
I think we get proposal on the 27th, so I think it was the board meeting in December is when we put them to the board.
That's December 13th.
all right. Is that okay?
Yes.
Is there any public comment on this item?
Good job, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Any public comment? Okay, seeing none. We'll move on to capital improvement update. Sam?
Oh, well, that's gonna be better.
All right.
Hello, one.
Good afternoon. Is it Friday yet? Good afternoon, my name is Juan and I will be going over the CIP update. Next slide, please. And these are going to be some of the projects that I'm going to be going over. Next slide, please. All right, let's start with Copper Cove Lift Station and Main Bypass projects. Lift Station 6, 15. Next slides, please. And 18 are complete and online. Lift Station 8 is actually being constructed right now. Matzingo is the contractor working on the project. The clear well, as you can see right there, has been installed. Next slide, please. Copper Cove water system improvements. What you're looking on the right is the inside of tank B. The roof has been removed, and Crossnose is actually working on the rehab and installing the new roof. Clear well tank is online and coming. Clear well is finished and is coming online in a couple of weeks. In tank B, the new tank B is constructed and online, and that's on the left, on the left picture on the left. Just a little glimpse of it.
Well, I have a question for you, Juan. Going back to what you said about the force main traversing under Lake Tulloch is capped and abandoned. There was, at one point, somebody said that it was going to be removed, but if everything, if something were to happen to the new facilities, I just want to make sure that pipeline is going to stay in place, so that if we had to divert sewage back through that pipe, we could.
No, it's pipe where you can't switch back to normal. Roughly, you talking about the sewer line that goes into the lane?
Yeah.
No, we won't be able to use that again. The water line is a different story, that we're moving the water line, that'll be active still, but the sewer line, it pumps up and around to Connor Estates.
But we were never planning to remove it.
Okay.
Yeah, we were planning on filling it with slurry, but we decided against that because it's high pressure slurry. They could bust it open and cause water damage. So we cleaned it really good and capital things that it's made terminate, so we can't, nothing's going in.
Hmm. Sure.
Yeah, the plumbing at lift station 8 is no longer gonna be able to pump that direction. So
Okay, all right.
if the pump, lift station 8 is gonna pump back to 6, and then 6 is gonna pump back to Connor. So there's no way to pump from 8 across there anymore. The piping's not there for it.
Okay, you couldn't have filled it with some, like a slurry kind of, sand cement slurry?
The pipe.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what you did up in Bertha's district.
yeah, we filled that with that was the stuff we were gonna fill with, but that cell created, it gets really pressurized under there. And it blew the tech ag pipeline apart,
Hmm.
caused all kinds of a big mess, and we didn't want that to happen in Victoria.
Okay,
So we wrote a deducted change order and got a credit back for that material that we were gonna put in there.
okay. All right, continue.
Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so Union A to B transmission pipeline project. We are on the third week of the construction. DA Woods has installed around a little over 1,200 feet of 14-inch ductile.
I'm just curious, are they happy with the pace?
It's been pretty slow,
Very slow.
What?
challenging.
Very slow.
I think hopefully it's just that particular area. I saw them, what they were excavating out of there. It's, it's high up there on a pretty rocky area, so hopefully they'll make some more progress, or make better progress here.
Yes.
Maybe some of the lower runs.
Yep. Calaveras County Board of Supervisors approved and executed the pavement agreement. That's is going to allow us to pave both lanes of Harvicksons at the end of the project. Next slides, please. That's the same. Just showing some of the, oh, go back, please. Thank you. Just showing some of the contractors working, dropping the pipes to the trenching. They brought bigger machinery as of last week, so there was some improvement on the pace. But it's gonna be slow and where there's rock, and hopefully we get some soft spots. Right, please.
On a rock.
Yeah, no, I saw it.
All right, so what you're looking at is as Jenny Lynn, Clearwell number 2 on the right. That's the top of the tank. And it's, I don't know if you can see on your prints, but it looks very deteriorated. So the tank obviously has been drained, and Carlson is actually working on site this week on replacing the roof. Expected completion is May of next year. Slides, please. West Point water supply reliability improvements. The project is almost ready for closeout. Electrical components are being relocated to the new building. What you see in is pictures of the old building, and some of the electrical panels and components those are the ones that I'm talking about that are being relocated. And right now we are addressing outstanding issues of the burn building, working on agreement with the contractor. Next slide, please. Thank you. West Point and Wesleyville Water Consolidation Project. Pretty much the civil and the mechanical are complete on this project. Paving was completed last Friday. The pictures that I'm showing you they don't show that. I took those pictures a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, so we are waiting on electrical components, panels, and equipment, so we can close the project. Slides, thank you. Now we're gonna be going over the design phase. The projects. Thank you. So this is Eves Pass, Hunter's Raw Water Intake Pumps. So approval for construction is expected next week. Blackwater will start on bid documents as soon as we receive that okay. Next slide, please. Arnold wastewater secondary clarifying improvements. The district is moving forward with grant applications for USDA funding. Staff has submitted preliminary grant applications to the local office for review. Slides. So this is going to be Sawmill and Wallace Tank Management Program. We receive and return comments to Blackwater on the preliminary design for both projects, and both projects have the geotechnical investigations have been completed. Next slide, which shows the Wallace tank, and that shows a small excavator doing a pit excavations for the geotechnical report. Next slide. Copper Cove wastewater tertiary improvements. This one, Hydroscience is continuing working on the 95% designs. The letter report, the original letter report is being amended and redefined. It's going to have 3 phases. Phase 1 will be complete engineering and environmental for the tertiary and the dam raise. Phase 2 is going to have CCWC produce and install the SAF. And phase 3 is going to be to do the improvements to the Pond 6 dam raise.
So just to expand on that a little bit, the letter report is the way the Corps is, that's the agreement we have to spend the funds that have been allocated for that project. So we still right now are operating under the letter report just for the first $2 million that were appropriated. And since the 11.2 were appropriated last year, we still are in the process of updating the letter report to utilize all 13.2 million of federal funding that's been provided. And trying to really, it's been a lift to sort of, because so much time has gone by since when we first had funds approved to where we are now, that we continuously have to reevaluate the project and rephase it so that we can stay within the budget and address the highest priority items.
Yeah.
And so right now we're, as Juan mentioned, putting a suspended air flotation device is essentially sort of a pre-treatment process in front of our existing tertiary filter, we think will help. And then rehabbing that tertiary filter will help extend the life of that tertiary filter so that we can then use the rest of those funds for the dam raise. And then hopefully a subsequent round of funding will help us complete the project by actually replacing the tertiary filter, but we don't know if or when those funds will come through. But that's the best, highest possible use of those funds and so we're kind of having to repackage that project, but the Corps is on board with all of that. And we're still waiting for a response from them on whether they've already said that we can go ahead and purchase the staff without having to go through the Corps procurement process. But we're also asking for them to allow us to install it. And we're still waiting for a response on that, but it remains a difficult bureaucracy to navigate, but we're making a lot of progress. And hopefully we'll be seeing some construction activity sooner rather than later.
Getting your requests and your responses from the Corps, is that from the Folsom office or DC?
So it goes from SAC district to the level above them is in San Francisco, and their general counsel as well. So and then the contract procurement folks. So there's different people in different locations.
Well, for a long time, I've heard you talk about the fact that when the dam raise starts, that the Corps of Engineers will be the lead agent on that construction. But up until now, I didn't realize that they conceivably could have been involved in the tertiary filter
So the way this program works is it's not a reimbursement program that we're accustomed to when we receive funding. This is a core project. So the Corps will award the construction contract and technically manage the project, but in close consultation with us. So that's why we have to get approval for them to allow us to purchase and install the SAF, which is sort of atypical. But they would be awarded the construction contract for the bulk of the work.
Team,
Right.
where we at?
Copper Cove Sea Transmission Line and Pump Station. So PBI is working toward 100% design for this project. Paul Holland was completed and CEQA CADEX documents have been submitted to the state clearinghouse and county. We are redesigning the connection to the sea tank to make that line a dedicated transmission line. The target bid is for this project is going to be in January next year sometime. Next, like this Lake Tulloch Interdike project, PBI working on the 50% design for this project. Another CEQA CADEX has been submitted to the clearinghouse and the county. And yeah, that's what we got. Next project. Lac Concerta, BioLac and Clarifier. Topographic survey was completed. Hydroscience is working on the preliminary design. We should receive those next week. So next slide. Huckleberry Lift Station. Loomis is working on a 50% design. And on a good note, odor control specialist completed site evaluation and no odors were detected. Lights and the West Point Water Supply Drought Project. And Kevin already presented on this project. This is just a plan view of the possible work. So,
All right. Do you have any,
Thank you, Juan. That was very efficient.
thank you.
do you have any questions or,
Nope.
are there any questions from the public regarding the,
Anyway, but, I'm not gonna take pills. So,
Who is this?
I have two kids.
who's speaking?
It was me, but I think I might have been out of order. I'm sorry, Pat Roy here.
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, I just have a, number one, thank you for the slide depicting the West Point project. It's nice being able to visualize it. Secondly, on the Jenny Lind water tanks, is looking at the image for the cover on that. I was just curious, what kind of protective coating or compound is used to inhibit rust inside these things, and what's the anticipated useful life of this stuff if whatever's used?
Thank you for the question. It's going to be a glass line.
No, this is we're replacing this welded steel tank. I think you got, that was the Wallace when you're talking about, but he's talking about Jane Lynn. The Wallace tank, so what we're doing there is we're removing the existing steel roof and
But
then,
he did ask about the Jenny Lind plant.
yeah, Jane Lynn, we're removing the existing roof on the steel tank.
Yeah, no, I thought you just brought up Wallace.
He was saying glass line, I was saying that was, I thought he was misunderstood him. He was talking about Wallace.
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, the Jenny Lynn, so yeah, we're gonna raise the roof up, put a new roof on there. The new roof's not gonna have the I-beams like that type of construction. This is gonna be bent plate. So it'll be less susceptible to rust and corrosion along the welds. But you can see in the picture, most of the corrosion's on the welds. So they'll be concealed welds. And then we're also putting a coatings on the inside and outside of the tank. So they'll sandblast it clean and put 3 coats of epoxy on it.
Okay, thanks. The epoxy is what I was looking for. I rather presume there was going to be a lot of cleanup work before anything else took place. So thank you
Yeah,
very much.
they'll fully tent they'll put a big tent over it like they do when you fumigate your house. And then they sandblast it underneath the tent.
But
Thank
it'll have a new roof on it.
Yeah, they'll have a brand new roof. It's already shop blasted.
How old is that tank?
Ancient.
I think was it 1980, I believe. So it's well past its, usually coatings are good for maybe 25 years max, but they're, they usually you're supposed to recode them at 20 years.
Anything else, Pat?
No, I'll wait till the end for the next one. Thanks.
Anybody else? Public comment? Okay. We will, thank you. We'll move on to other updates. Is there anything else?
Good afternoon. Other updates are basically all the developer projects that we have, that the district is working with, any of the improvements or developments that are occurring throughout our service areas. Copper Cove, Copper Valley Town Square. We've been working with the owners of the property to improve the lift station site and construct a force main that will go from the town square all the way to Saddle Creek subdivision to a lift station over there. That will allow the district to pump all the septic from town square. This project has been on the books since 2007, since town square was developed, but we've been working with the developer trying to get to this point. The pre-design report was accepted by the district before the district was thinking about having 2 lift stations, but now working with the owners on this site, we are able to consolidate into 1 lift station that's existing. We're gonna update that to our current design standards and tie into the new enforcement from their septic, where there's septic storage facilities all the way down to the golf course. Jenny Lind Elementary School Force Main project. We did hear good news from their project manager from the school district, letting us know that the extension has been granted for this project, and they are working with their design engineer on this and getting all the bid documents ready to submit to the state, and probably be going out to.
Is this the same design we've had all along and we've reviewed it as well?
Yes, sir. The state board architect has commented on the design, but they still have specifications, bid documents, the bid package that needed to be put together. So the design engineer is working on that, and once they have that.
Are we still working on a $5 million project, or is it 7.5 million?
We'll get the updated cost from the design engineer.
Do we know if there's a bigger pool of money?
And I thought they had the $8 million allocated towards this project, but that could change.
I thought it was 5 at the beginning. Anyway, I mean, are we anticipating a cost increase? It's been several years.
It's been a while, yeah. So they might have to update that.
But maybe it will go down too.
Then we have North Vista Plaza, LGI Homes. They're moving full steam ahead. They presented us with the design for construction of the new lift station and force main that would run across Vista Del Lago and across Highway 26 and tie into our existing gravity system just before Huckleberry. And that will bypass all the gravity sewer that we have that runs behind the North Vista Plaza. I believe that's the whole pizza factory, all that, and along the creek, kind of moving away from all the manholes that are in the environmentally sensitive area. So we'll be getting back to them. And yeah, there's one more, the medical center in Valley Springs. They are doing some expansion on this site, and they just submitted the plans today. We'll go over those, and
Today they just submitted them?
they had submitted the application. They got the plans today to us, so we'll get back to them by the end of this week.
Okay.
Everything's good.
But they're under construction. They just missed a step, or what happened there?
So it seems like when they went to the county and there was a little bit of confusion, sometimes they don't know, or there's not a whole lot during these events. Sometimes they skip through a step, but that was not anybody's fault. Seems like they're tying in onto their site.
Yeah, no, I
Preliminary thoughts.
know a little bit about it, but I just want to make sure that we're, you know, periodically, there's so much turnover, you know, people talk about turnover here. There's a new public works director, a new building official, a new building inspector, every time I turn around over there. And so we need to kind of keep them up to date on our policies as far as inspection on sewer lines and
Yes.
that sort of thing, because, you know, they're building inspectors. I mean, they don't necessarily know all the policies. So we got to make sure that we keep them.
Yes, we did talk to the owners and we're,
Well,
Yeah.
I'm also talking about updating the county officials on what we need to see, so we're not holding anybody up. So I want to make sure that we have a communication with whoever it is, environmental health, public works, or building department over there as to what we require.
we do have quarterly meetings, utility staff meetings where we notify the county staff, whoever's present at that time, of the ongoing projects that are coming our way. And if they have, and whatever issues that we might have, that we can to relay the information to them, like missteps happen.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Sam, before you go away, I need to ask you a question on this,
Yes,
at the bottom of page 1, the bold printing says North Vista Plaza, LGI Homes. I'm confused about how Jenny Lind Elementary School is involved in this LGI project. Is there a portion of that proposed force main from the Jenny Lind School, is it going past
Yeah.
the site?
yes. So originally, the Jenny Lind Elementary School project was the first project that came to district, and they were tying into the gravity sewer. The gravity sewer, that was what led to the concerns of upsizing gravity that runs in the environmentally sensitive area along the creek. So considering that, and then when LGI proposed the development, district, we started looking at what other possibilities could be. So when we looked at the couple of sites that LGI was proposing a lift station and on site, but that was going to break head on into the same gravity. The gravity line was just not big enough to accommodate all the flow, especially from the Jenny Lind Elementary School and 56 residential units that LGI was proposing. So district worked with the developer and we considered moving the lift station to a new location that would be more localized and where the force main from elementary school could tie into that lift station. And we could just bypass the whole gravity sewer and avoid additional flows through that.
Okay, so has the alignment, or was it Berkesy that was going to go down?
Yeah, but it's got to go up Vista Lago and then attach onto the back, the very back of Berkesy, the court, right?
Yes, so Berkesy, it loops up and ties into Vista del Lago. And that's where the connection was for the force main.
Okay, but for gosh, it's been 4 years now, we've been talking about the Jenny Lind pipeline. But there was always some wishful expectation that there might be some connections that would be necessary or would be possible to the Jenny Lind pipeline going down Berkesy, closer to the school. Does this calculation put those potential customers in jeopardy?
So it doesn't, what we are doing in conjunction with the developer, we're going to do an area of benefit that's going to allow the district to consider those developments or those housing units that are along the alignment along Berkesy and all the way down to the Jenny Lind Elementary School.
Okay.
That could potentially tie into our system and be
And they would contribute into the
the project, yes.
Okay,
development.
right. I just wanted to make sure we didn't make a decision that would have unfortunate circumstances associated with it. So, okay, good. Glad you're thinking about that.
Yep.
Anything else? Any public comment? Pat?
Yeah, I'm presuming we're nearing the end of the meeting here and I wanted to fall back a little bit to the summary of grant applications, if I may. I noticed there's a little over, what, $27 million in approved grant applications on the books right now, which is wonderful. I'm just curious as to whether or not any of those awards are going to have any impact on the capital improvement projects that were used for foundation for the current rate structures.
No, the most recent ones are the most recent ones are
Yeah, I only referenced the one.
At Hunter's Raw Water, that one's in the CIP already and we plan on getting the award within the next week or two. Timber Trails Pump Station Rehab, that's part of our tank rehabilitation program, that's in the CIP. Arnold Wastewater, we have that on the CIP. Consolidations on the CIP. Water supply drought, we talked about that one earlier, it's not on the CIP. But we're gonna get the proposals and make a decision from there. Tertiary treatment plant, that's in the CIP. Backup filters almost done, or pretty much done, that's in the CIP.
These aren't new awarded grants, correct?
I was just referencing the ones that popped up from 23 and 24, so I didn't look at the
Yeah,
older ones.
they've all been accounted for in the CIP,
Yeah.
except for the new one that we just found out about.
Well, that's wonderful. I presume they're going to help reduce some of the monetary load that we were facing with all that, so.
Yeah, none of our, they're not approved yet, so we got our share figured in there, but they may not happen.
Okay, just one comment on the Jenny Lind Elementary School. I mean, that's a heck of a long ways from there to the sewage treatment plant, and thinking that's gonna work on gravity feed, that has to be amazing.
That's
So,
a Fort Main project, so they got lift stations that they're installing as
yeah.
part of that project, and there'd be a
Well, that was
Forest
just-
Main.
So just a comment, not a question. So thanks a
Sorry.
lot. And my thanks to Miss Landstead there's a pretty informative presentation she made. So thanks to her today. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. General manager,
Just thank you to the engineering staff who, as Kevin mentioned, are dealing with a lot of projects and doing a really phenomenal job. So thank you guys.
okay,
That's all I have.
all right, director comments, you have anything?
I have nothing.
I have nothing as well, just excellent work, guys, I guess, guys and gals, people. Next committee meeting will be January 7th, 2025. Meeting's adjourned.